Okay, so today we're going to start section 3 of chapter 3. Today we're going to learn how to divide using synthetic division and long division. So let's go ahead. Let me go back here. Let's review how we learned how to divide back in 3rd grade. So when you did division problems in 3rd grade, for example, if I said do 4 and divide that into 484. Remember, you look to see what did I need to multiply 4 by, or how many times does 4 go into 4? Goes in once. Then remember, you timesed it, you subtracted it, then you brought down the next number, figured out what did you have to times 4 by to make it 8, times it by 2, subtract, bring down the next number, figure out how many times 4 goes in there once, multiply it, and subtract. So this is the idea what we're going to be doing here with the long division. Now, the next, and take a look, but before I divide has all of these words, but as we go through it, you'll get the hang of it. So again, main thing to do is to arrange the terms of both the dividend and the divisor in descending order of powers. If there's any variable that is missing, we're going to fill it in with a 0 just to hold the place. Then we're going to divide the first term of the dividend by the first term in the divisor, and then the result is the first term of the quotient. Then we're going to multiply every term in the division by the first term in the quotient, write the resulting product beneath the dividend with the terms lined up. Then we're going to change the signs, add the terms, bring down the next term in the original dividend, and write it next to the remainder. We're going to keep repeating this process until the remainder can no longer be divided. And the degree on the remainder is less than the degree of the divisor. When we write our answers, we're going to have the quotient plus the remainder over the divisor, sort of like a mixed number. Now, I know this was a lot of words, and you're like, oh my goodness, I am totally lost. But as we go through this, it's not going to be that bad. Now, the numerator is going to be your dividend. The denominator is the divisor. So the numerator goes in the division box. I need to make sure that it's written in descending order of exponents. So I have the x squared first, then I have x to the first, then just the constant. Then I put the denominator on the outside. Now, when I go to do this division, my quotient, my answer will always be 1 degree lower than my dividend. So what I'm going to do here is I have to think, what do I need to multiply x by to make it become this first term, this x squared? And I know that x times x gives me x squared. Now, I don't write it on top of the x squared. I write it on top of the second term. So now I'm going to distribute the x to the x and to the 1. And that's what I'm going to write underneath. So I'm distributing that. So x times x gives me x squared. X times positive 1 gives me a 1x. Now, if you remember back in that example I just did, that 484 divided by 4, remember we're subtracting here. However, you're going to attempt, since you're going to be doing a lot of these, you might get confused and forget that you're subtracting both of these. So what I always do is I change both signs to opposite, sort of like a keep flip change. So really what I'm doing here is I'm going to change this to a negative and this to a negative, opposite signs. And now I just add up and down. So negative x plus negative x gives me x. This one is gone because x squared plus negative x squared is 0. Now I bring down my next number, which is the negative 2. Now again, I need to look at what am I going to multiply x by to make it negative 2x. And I'm going to multiply it by a negative 2. I'm going to distribute the negative 2 to the x and to the 1. So negative 2x minus 2. Change all the signs to opposites. So make this positive, positive, and now I add straight up and down. So here when I add this, negative 2 plus 2 is 0. Negative 2x plus 2x is 0 as well. So my remainder here is 0. So the quotient to this problem is just x minus 2. Notice my answer is 1 degree less than my dividend. Let's try the next one. Again, make sure that the polynomial is in descending order of exponents. Take the numerator, put it in the division box. Take the denominator, it goes outside. What are we going to multiply x by to make it become an x squared? I'm going to multiply it by x, and I write it on top of the second term. I distribute the x to the x and to the 3. So x times x is x squared, and x times 3 is 3x. I now change both signs to opposite. So this now becomes a negative x squared and a negative 3x. And now I'm just adding straight up and down. Negative x plus negative 3x gives me negative 4x. This is gone. It cancels. X squared plus negative x squared is 0. Bring down your next term. What are we going to multiply x by to make it a negative 4x? And I'm going to multiply it by negative 4. I distribute negative 4 to the x and to the 3. Flip the signs to opposites. Make this plus, plus, and now add up and down. Negative 2 plus 12 is 10. I have no more numbers to bring down. 10 is my remainder. When you go to write your answer, you're going to put the remainder over the divisor. So since it's positive, it's a plus sign. If that would have been a negative 10, it would have been negative 10 over x plus 3. So the final answer here is x minus 4 plus 10 over x plus 3. Sort of the same idea you do when you write a mixed number. So again, make sure your polynomial is in descending order of exponents, and it is. So the numerator goes in the division box. I'm going to go ahead and do 5x to the third minus 6x squared minus 28x minus 2 divided by x plus 2. So again, I need to figure out what am I going to multiply x by to make it this first term, the 5x cubed. I'm going to be multiplying it by 5x squared. I write it over the second term. I'm going to distribute 5x squared to the x and to the positive 2. Since I'm subtracting, change both signs to opposite of what they are. So make that negative, and now add up straight up and down. Negative 6x squared plus negative 10x squared gives me negative 16x squared. This is gone. Bring down the next term. What are we going to multiply x by to make it negative 16x squared? We're going to multiply it by negative 16x. Distribute negative 16x to the x and to the positive 2. So negative 16x squared minus 32x. Change the signs to opposites. So make them both positive now. Now add straight up and down. That one's gone. And then negative 28x plus 32 is 4x. Bring down your next term. What are we going to multiply x by to make it a 4x? We're going to multiply it by positive 4. Distribute the positive 4. Change the signs to opposite. My remainder is negative 10. You take the remainder, because it's negative, we'll put a subtraction sign, and then it goes over the divisor. So the final answer here is 5x squared minus 16x plus 4 minus 10 over x plus 2. Notice it went down 1 degree. This is going to help us find our zeros or our x-intercepts when we're starting to graph these large polynomials. We're going to keep doing long division to break it down so it turns into a quadratic that I can either factor, use completing the square, or quadratic formula. On the previous example, you mean? Yeah. On number 2? Okay. So for example 4, notice it's jumping from an x to the third power to a constant. I'm missing some terms, so I need to fill the gaps with zeros. I got to hold the places. So I'm going to start by putting my information in my division box. So I'm going to be adding in the x cubed first. I don't have an x squared term, so I'm holding the place with 0x squared. I don't have an x term. I have to hold that place as well. And then lastly, I have the minus 1. So you need to take into consideration and have a spot for every single exponent. And now I can divide it by the x plus 1. So now what I need to do is figure out what do I need to multiply x by to make it x cubed. And I'm going to multiply it by x squared. I need to distribute x squared to the x and to the 1. X cubed plus x squared. Change the signs to opposite and add up. So I'm going to change this to a negative and this to a negative. This is gone. And now 0 plus negative x squared is negative x squared. Bring down the next term, which is a 0x. What are we going to multiply x by to make it a negative x squared? We're going to multiply it by negative x. Distribute it. Flip the signs to opposite. Add up the columns. I get 1x here, or just x. Bring down the next number in the division box. What are we going to multiply x by to make it x? We're going to multiply it by 1. 1 times x is x. 1 times 1 is 1. Change the signs to opposite. This is gone, and this becomes negative 2. And that's my remainder. So come up here, remainder over the divisor. So final answer, x squared minus x plus 1 minus 2 over x plus 1. Do need to know the technique of long division, because once we start graphing, we're going to need to we're going to use long division when we start graphing and finding asymptotes and things like that. So let's go ahead and see the steps for synthetic. So for synthetic division, again, same process as far as arranging your polynomial in descending order. We need to fill in any coefficients with zeros for any exponent that's missing. When we're given that the divisor is x minus c, we're going to write c to the left and the coefficients to the right. We're going to bring down the first term. We're going to multiply the outside number, that C value, by the term brought down. We're going to write the product in the next column. We'll add, multiply, write it in the next column, and we're going to keep repeating until all the columns are filled in. The last term is the remainder, and the degree of the first term is always going to be 1 less than the degree of the dividend. So let's go ahead and see what we can do here. You can only use synthetic when you're dividing by a binomial. If it's a trinomial, we have to do long division. So let's try some examples. So my first example, I'm only using coefficients now. Now technically, this was example number 1. We already did it using long division. Now what I'm going to do is do the same problem, and I'm going to use synthetic. So let's go ahead, and here's the setup. Now, remember that this divisor is in the form of x minus c. Now, if it's easier for you to figure out the c value, what you need to do is take the denominator, which is your divisor, set it equal to 0 to get your c value. So x equals 1 is the solution. This is my c value that I'm dividing by. Now, if it's something simple like this, it's just opposite sign. But the way I'm going to set up my synthetic division box is I take that c value, I put it there, then I'm going to draw like an L. And now what I'm going to do is only take the coefficients of my dividend. So this is a 1 here, a -1, and then the -2. So 1, -1, -2. I'm taking only these coefficients here. The 1 from in front of x squared, the -1 that's in front of x, and then the -2, that's your constant. So I'm using those coefficients only. And now the process is as follows. You take that first term, you bring it straight down. I'm now going to multiply the c times the number that's straight down, and then I write the answer. So I'm multiplying, and then I write the answer in here. Then I don't switch any signs, I just add straight up and down. So I'm going to add -1 plus -1, and I get -2. And now I take the c term, times it by the number I just got here, becomes +2, add the column, and I get a 0. Now, the way that it's written here, remember it's bringing it down 1 power. So this is my remainder, this is my constant, and this is my x term. So the answer here, I now take this and put it together. So this is 1x. Then I have the constant, which is just -2, and then the remainder is 0. So the answer to this problem is just x minus 2. So example 6, this is the same thing that I did in example 2, but now I use synthetic. So again, I need to make sure it's in descending order, and it is. So then now what I'm going to do is take the coefficients, and again, I could take the denominator, x plus 3 equals 0. So the number that's going outside of my synthetic here is -3. And then now I'm going to take all the coefficients. So the coefficient of x squared is 1. The coefficient of x is -1, and then -2. So bring down, multiply, so this times this, and you write the answer right there. Add the column, multiply this, times this, write the answer in the next column, add the column, and then we're done. This is the remainder, the constant, and the x. So my answer here is x minus 4, remainder 10, over the divisor. Now we'll do one that's a little bit longer, which was like example 3. But now we're going to do number 7 using synthetic. Pretty good? Again, you can, if it's easier for you to see what the C value is going to be, just do this. So we're going to put -2. I'm only using coefficients. So the 5, the -6, the -28, and the -2. Nothing was missing. It's nice in descending order. And now we start our synthetic division process. Bring down the first term. Multiply 5 times -2. Put the answer to that put that product in that first column. Add straight up and down. -16. Multiply -16 times -2. That product goes in the next column. Add the column. Multiply one more time. 4 times -2. -8, add the column, and now let's put back our variables. So remainder, constant, x squared. So like you're counting back up. So now I have, for my final answer, 5x squared. So you're putting this together, then you're putting this together, so 16x negative. Then you put the constant, and then you put the remainder over the divisor. And you're done. Same answer I got when I did it using long division. Let's do one more where we're missing terms. So remember, we need to write this in descending order, and we need to fill any gaps. So really what I need to do is change this into x cubed plus 0x squared plus 0x minus 1. So now the numbers that are going to go in my synthetic division box, I'm going to put in the 1. I'm going to put in a 0, and a -1. And again, if you want to do the x plus 1 equals 0, we're doing -1 here, and then put in all those coefficients. Bring down, multiply, -1 times +1 is -1. Add the column, multiply again, -1 times -1 is +1. Add the column, multiply -1 times +1, -1, add the column. Remainder, constant, x squared. Remember, it brings it down a power. Our initial dividend was cubed. Now we know it's in the answer, it'll be an x squared. And then minus x plus 1 minus 2 over x plus 1. So combine those coefficients with their variables. We're going to do one more example, and then I will finish the notes on Wednesday. Last example for part A, or 3.3 part A. Again, when you're using synthetic division, the divisor has to be a binomial. This is a trinomial, so I cannot use synthetic here. I have to do long division. So again, my numerator will go in the division box. So I'm going to put 2x to the 4th plus 4x cubed minus 5x squared plus 3x minus 2. Nothing was missing. I didn't have to fill any gaps with zeros. Put that trinomial on the outside. What are we going to multiply x squared by to make it become 2x to the 4th? I'm going to multiply it by a 2x squared. So once I multiply that, I get 2x squared, 2x to the fourth, plus 4x cubed minus 6x squared. Change all the signs to opposites. And now, this time, 2 of my terms are canceling. Add negative 5 plus 6, and I get 1x squared. Now, because I eliminated 2 numbers, I have to bring down 2. So I'm going to bring down both of these. And now I'm going to figure out what am I going to multiply x squared by to make it x squared. I'm going to multiply it by a 1. So I'm going to put plus 1, distribute a 1, and I end up getting x squared plus 2x minus 3. Change all the signs to opposite. This is gone. And I end up with x plus 1. So that is my remainder because there's nothing else to bring down. So my quotient is going to be 2x squared plus 1 plus x plus 1 over x squared plus 2x minus 3. And that's my final answer. So we will continue these notes on Wednesday. You have 6 problems to do for homework in the 3.3a homework, which is due Wednesday, not tomorrow. You have 3 long division questions and 3 synthetic division questions. So that is your homework due Wednesday. Your homework tonight is to study for your 4-question quiz tomorrow. 2, completing the square, put it into the standard form, and then find vertex, axis of symmetry, x and y intercepts, domain and range, and then graph it. Then you'll also have to be able to demonstrate using x equals negative b over 2a. To find the vertex, after you find the x, you plug it back in to get the y, and then find axis of symmetry, x and y intercepts, domain and range. And then the last question were like the homework questions I just worked out, where you're given a vertex and a point and be able to write a standard form. So that is it for 3.3a notes.